Okay, this discussion is about the Amstrad models, which some of you will know use the Cybernet PT BM002 AOX chassis, what I would call the economy Cybernet chassis, and it works very well indeed. And I don't know whether you're aware, but there's 3 versions of the Amstrad 901. Now look, we've got the Amstrad 900 in the middle here. That doesn't have the Roger Bleep and the Channel 9 switch and the CB facility. It was the more basic one, and it retailed at $79.99 at the time in 1981, whereas 901 was a tenner more at $89.99. So there we have 2 Amstrad 901s, and this is as they've come in. I don't think we're going to be resurrecting that top one, but I've taken the screws out because I want to show you something. There's 3 versions. There's the bottom one. Now the serial number plate is missing off the back of this, so I don't know which version it is without opening it up. So we'll open it up, if I can. Ah, right. That is the genuine made in Japan version. I'm just going to zoom in on that. The printed circuit board has all the component locations screen printed, and there's also a screen shadow of the print the other side. So that is the genuine Amstrad 901, the original one, the one that cost $89.99. And they work really well. They're well worth spending the money on. Very sensitive receivers, just work fantastically. So we'll probably be able to sort that out for them. The only snag, no power lead, and we've got no access now to replacement sockets. So the problem there is, unless we have scrap chassis with the sockets on, I can't help that particular customer. But I haven't looked into that yet for them. Now I'll put that down, and we'll move on to this, which is the Amstrad 900. This is the more basic version, and it says on the back, made in Japan. And if we open that one up, it's exactly the same. It's the screen printed board. These work absolutely brilliantly. But again, there's no power connector, so I don't know whether we can help them. Then we have this, which has been hand brush painted in various colours. Oh, and this also says made in Japan on the back. So this too is one of the genuine ones. And actually, inside, it looks a lot more reasonable than I first worried about. So that's 3 genuine Amstrad 901s, all made in Japan. Now the other one, I can't show you the other version, but there's a made in Hong Kong version, and the board still is screen printed, but on the label at the back, instead of saying made in Japan, it says made in Hong Kong. That was the later version of the Amstrad 901. That was one that just sold at just $59.99, and they don't work as well. What lets them down is the squelch. It just isn't as good. They have a slightly different power connector. So those 3 I've shown you are genuine, made in Japan, expensive ones which work really well. Now you may have seen these. This is the same chassis, and this is Harvard H646. This also appears as the Spinitronic CB901, which was sold by a UK mail order house, which was Littlewoods Group. And these are made in Hong Kong. This one is a fully working one, it's been serviced by us. But this is the other version. Now I've already said there's a Hong Kong version with a screen printed board. There's also a Hong Kong version which doesn't have a screen printed board, and that's this one. And sometimes you'll see these badged as an Amstrad 901, and sometimes you'll see these as the Spinitronic, and sometimes, like in this case, you'll see this as the Harvard H646. Now let's look at the board. No screen printing, no component layouts. and the cheaper components. And you look at the back of the board, the whole thing is cheaper. And I am absolutely convinced that these are a pirate copy of the genuine article, because I just wouldn't think that such cheap components would have found their way into a quality product. And I'm afraid that these don't work very well at all. But the big letdown is the squelch. It's the same circuit, but I'm absolutely convinced these are a pirate copy of the Amstrad 901. And so you've got three versions. You've got the made in Japan one, like I've just shown you those three, and the Amstrad 900s are always made in Japan. Then you've got the cheaper version, which says made in Hong Kong on the back, has a slightly darker board like this, but is screen printed. And then third and finally you get this version, which has no screen printing on the boards and some quite cheap components. And that's what I regard to be the pirate copy one. Unfortunately, a lot of the ones tend to be this version. And I'm not that sure these are worth spending money on, but the other two are. So for all of you out there who just thought there was one Amstrad 901, just be aware that there are three, and it's the made in Japan one that's the really good one.